Hey guys, what's going on? It's Blade again from Cardio Security, and today we're looking at amp wiring kits. Right, so you've got your head unit, you've got your speakers, you've got your amps, but how are you going to put it all into the car and make it work? You need amplifier wiring kits. So there's two main types of wiring kits that you need to be looking at. So you've got your kind of more basic, more affordable CCA wiring kits. Now CCA stands for copper coated aluminium. So these are going to be a lot more affordable. Usually for say a 4-gauge kit like this, going to be around the 30 to 40 pound mark usually. And then you've got your OFC wiring kits. Now these are usually the better quality. OFC stands for oxygen free copper. So it's all copper cable inside. Sometimes it's tinned with other materials depending on the wiring kits you're getting, but oxygen free copper is going to be able to give you a lot better quality. These tend to be around £100 to £150 depending on what you're looking at for a 4-gauge wiring kit. Now let's look at the components of a 4-gauge wiring kit and we'll show you what comes inside and how you would use it. Right, so your average wiring kits will come with majority of these components in front of me here. Now we've got a Stinger 4-gauge wiring kit here and a Powerbass premium 4-gauge wiring kit here. So most of these parts here will be from this kit, but not absolutely everything, so just bear with me. So first of all, let's start with your power cable. Now most kits will come with roughly 5 meters of power cable. This is a 4-gauge kit, so this is a 4-gauge cable. Now this is an orange cable. You'll find these could be blue, red, multiple different colors, but your power cable tends to be a bright color. Next up, you've got your earth cable. So ground cable, earth cable, whatever you want to call it. This will usually come as a 1 meter or just over 1 meter length. Now, reason behind this is because usually when you're wiring up an amp, you don't want to be earthing back to your battery. You want to be earthing to the chassis of the vehicle. So ideally you don't want your earth being more than 1 meter long because it's going to take longer to earth out and you may have problems with that. So usually these will come in darker colors also, just so you can tell the difference between power and earth. So you'll have browns, blacks, whatever you find. So next you've got speaker cable. Now this kit comes with 5 meters of speaker cable. Some kits don't actually come with speaker cable, it depends on what kit you buy. But this kit does, the Powerbass kit. This comes with 5 meters of oxygen free copper speaker cable in orange and black, kind of joined together. You split them apart, you get your kind of positive and negative there. 5 meters will usually do your front door speakers, for instance. Next up, you've got your remote cable. Now this is essential to be able to turn your amp on. You may have your power, you may have your ground, but without a remote switch, your amp will not turn on. So you need this remote switch to come from your head unit to your amplifier. So every time the head unit turns on, the amplifier turns on. Like I said, without this, your amp's not going to turn on. These tend to be blue. Very rarely going to be another color, but it's a nice thin cable. It's only taking 12 volts. Right, next you have your RCAs. Now this kit comes with 5 meters. Majority of the wiring kits again will come with 5 meter RCAs. That's because it's coming from the back of your head unit to your amplifier. The majority of cars are going to be roughly 5 meters in length from head unit to boot. Quite essential. You want to make sure you get yourself some good quality RCAs. Otherwise you'll spend loads of money on good quality cable, but if your sound quality from your head unit is traveling by a poor quality RCA, it's not going to happen. So make sure you get yourself some good RCAs. These come in like a snakeskin style, they're kind of shielded like that, and they're split off in the ends, so you're only running one cable, so it's nice and easy. Now next you have your fuse holder. Now there are 3 main types of fuse holder. Majority of the time in your 8-gauge wiring kits and lower gauge wiring kits of 10 or 8 gauge, you'll find an AGU or an AFS fuse holder. This is an AFS fuse holder. So essentially what it is, I'll take it apart quickly for you. But you have 2 contacts where your power cable goes in, and then you have the fuse in the middle. So this is a blade style fuse, a mini blade style fuse. This is AFS or SFA, however you want to call it. Other than this, you'll have a AGU, which is a glass style fuse, which most of you would have seen. It's just a glass tube with a filament in the middle. The glass tube style or AGU will only go up to 80 amps. So if your amplifier is running higher power or draws more current, you'll need to run an AFS fuse, so just bear that in mind. And then as well as that, you've got ANL. That's essentially a big version of the AFS and will go up to I think 500 amp. So very, very big, basically a big version of that. You might be able to see it in that kit there. Next up, you've got your main accessories. So ring terminals, fork terminals. You've got the shrouding that goes around the terminals or heat shrink. And next you've got conduit. So this kit comes with some conduit. This wraps around your power cable in the engine bay just to make everything look nice and neat. It looks like factory wiring essentially. Very rare that you'll see this in a wiring kit. If it's a good quality wiring kit, you might find it. So something like this, you'll have it in there. That's essentially it. A couple of other things to mention, your fuse holder. You want that to be nice and close to your battery, as close as possible really. You don't want too much unfused cable. So if you're putting your fuse in the back of the car, the whole length of that cable from your battery to your fuse is unfused. So you're running a risk. There's essentially no point running a fuse at that point. So you want it in the engine bay on a nice short bit of cable coming from the battery, so you're nice and safe. Right, so we've looked at the basic components of a wiring kit. Now, you need to decide what wiring kit is correct for your application. So you've got 3 to 4 main choices on gauge of cable. Now, I don't have a 10 gauge with me today, but the smallest we have here is a 8 gauge. So 10 gauge is smaller than this. Basically, the higher the number, the smaller the gauge cable you're looking at. So 8 gauge is probably 10 mil in diameter. Very, very thin cable. You're going to be looking at any amplifier up to probably, I'd say, 500 to 600 watts is a safe point for an 8 gauge cable, and then you may be pushing it. Now, going on from there, you've got 4 gauge, we looked at earlier in the kit. So a 4 gauge cable is probably about the size of your pinky, maybe about 25 mil in diameter. So you've got that there. That's going to be safe up to roughly 12 to 1500 watts, depending on your amplifier. Probably say 1200 watts, that's probably a safe point. And then you've got the big boy 0 gauge. That's probably about the size of my thumb. Big old cable. You're going to be able to run quite a lot of wattage essentially, up to probably about 3000 watts, probably more than that. Some cables can be a bit thicker, but big old cable takes a lot of current, mainly for your big installs. This cable here is a big old cable. Right, so we've been through the entirety of a wiring kit, what wiring kit you would choose for your application. Now, just as a reference guide, I'm going to show you now how you would set a wiring kit up for an amplifier in your vehicle. So we've got a Rockwell-Fosgate amp here in front of me, good quality amp, very, very good. Nice big amp as well, so we can see what we're doing. But we're going to show you how, where your cables are going to go, essentially, into the amp. From there, obviously, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's going to go onto your battery, into your head unit and whatnot. Just to give you guys a better view, I've just crouched down in front of the amp here so we can see what we're doing. So first of all, we're going to start off on this side. So this is all your power inputs, power and earth, essentially. So you're going to get your power cable. This is going to go into the positive side of the battery. This is labeled battery positive, B positive. So that's going to be going in there like that. Then you've got your ground cable. This is an 8 gauge, but just to give you reference on what ground cable looks like. That's going in there, GND, ground, maybe labeled negative or earth, depending on the amp. Then you've got your remote cable. So you get your remote cable, let's find the end of this quickly. It's only a thin cable, so it's going to have a very small input, but that's just going to go in there like that. Next, you've got your RCA outputs. Basically, you've got input and output. So you've got input here and output. So input's the bottom, output is the top. So you want output here. You're going to plug your RCAs and make sure you get your white and red the right way around. You can plug them in like so. Make sure they're plugged all the way in and they're not loose. Then you're going to run it to your amp. Take that out. And lastly, you have your speaker cable. So speaker cable is going to be over this side. Now this is a monoblock amp, but as you can see, you still have 4 speaker cable inputs. So there's multiple ways you could do this really. If you're running a single sub, what I tend to do is run your positive from this output and your negative from that output. If you're running 2 subs and you've got 2 sets of speaker cable coming in, you'd run 1 sub off of that positive and that negative, and then the other sub from that positive and that negative. Same goes for your 4-channel amps for your speakers, that kind of thing. This has the option for bass controller, so that would just plug in there, and then you've got your adjustments here. Okay, so that pretty much wraps it up. We've gone through wiring kits today. We've shown you how a wiring kit works, what comes in the bags or the box, how it connects up to your amp. So that pretty much helps you out with everything you need. You've got your head unit, you've got your speakers, you've got your amps, you've got your subs. You get home, you realize you haven't got any tools, you haven't got any equipment to fit the stuff, and unfortunately you do need it, but we've got you there as well. So we have just opened our sister company, Tool Store Direct, which carries a host of stock of power tools, hand tools, other accessories, anything you'd need really. But for an install like this, you're definitely going to need a set of wire strippers, crimpers, and probably a soldering iron as well as some other accessories like tape and shrink wrap and all sorts of other bits and bobs. But if you need any more information on that, make sure you head over to the Tool Store Direct website and you can have a look over the whole range of tools we have in stock. Okay, now just to bring it back to what we were originally talking about, the wiring kits. So over to my right here, we've got the Stinger SSK4. Now this is a brilliant entry-level wiring kit. We'll get you going. This is only $39.99, so definitely a good option. Still decent quality, but you can definitely go a bit better if you're looking for that bit of boost in quality. But yeah, very good option with the Stinger wiring kit. But if you are looking for that jump in quality, you could go to the Powerbass XWK40. This is the oxygen-free copper kit. Again, comes with everything you need. This is £110, but yeah, best quality you're really gonna get for a wiring kit there. Now, if you'd like to see any other videos on the channel, make sure you drop a comment down below. We'll try and get it on there. Any product reviews you'd like to see, any new products you'd like to see on the channel, we'll try and get it on. But that's pretty much it from me. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video. Now, oh my God.